Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I'm bringing to you guys is a video on my top tips for the end game expeditions and how you can more successfully and more consecutively clear these without any issues, how you can get faster runs down on them, particularly now with the new Gypsum system where you can do one every single day to get your Gypsum orbs, and it'll also kind of spill into the arenas, but I'm going to cover those in a separate video as there is a lot to talk about with those ones. What I'm going to be doing in today's video, like I mentioned just at the beginning there, is going in depth on Genesis and Lazarus Instrumentality and talking to you guys about how you can improve your gameplay inside of those dungeons. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about here is actually enemy weaknesses and strengths. So in this video what I'm going to do is talk mainly about the dungeons overall, and I'm not really going to show gameplay of them because I'm going to show you guys the items I'm talking about and the things that I'm talking about instead, as hopefully that will make a little bit more sense. Hopefully if you are watching this video you know what these dungeons are, and if you don't, there'll be videos coming up specifically on those expeditions in the next few weeks, so make sure you are staying tuned to the channel for those ones. But first of all, you've got Lazarus Instrumentality here. Now Lazarus, a lot of you may or may not know that the mob types inside this are actually the Ancients. Now the Ancients, just like all mobs around the Turnum, have certain strengths and certain weaknesses by which you can actually tune your build in order to go into this one. So the location I'm showing to you guys right now is of course over here in Reekwater, just literally right above it. You do need a Lazarus tuning orb in order to get in there, and they are weak to strike damage, which is things like the Warhammer, as you can see here, and they are also weak to lightning damage. Now one thing, if you don't know how to check, you can go ahead and hover over a weapon. You will see underneath where it says the 600, the damage, etc. It says with a little symbol next to it, 237 strike damage. If we go to the life staff, it's 156 nature damage. And then obviously this is separate from the actual gear score and the overall damage, which is 1148, the crit chance, etc. But if you don't know which each weapon is, you can go ahead and check. For example, the hatchet is slash and lightning, because I've got a lightning gem on, so that would be half good. Then you've got things like the rapier, which is thrust damage, and, you know, etc, etc, etc. Now, Ancients are also strong against or are resistant to slash damage, so that'd be straight swords. That would also be hatchet, like we saw there. Half of that would be resistant to, and resistance means you do less damage to these. Also nature, so amber gems, or fire damage, so ruby gems. So for example, my dark sky right now here has got a fire gem on or a ruby gem on, so this would be less effective in there, particularly as it's slash damage as well. I want to stay well clear of this weapon when I'm in Lazarus. Now if they're resistant to it, it means you're going to do less damage. However, you will still do some damage, again depending off your attribution, scaling, etc. But you will do far less damage than if I used a Warhammer here, and if I actually had a lightning gem on this, it would do even more damage. Now when we're looking at Genesis, which on the map is just over in Eden's Grove, if you go up pretty much in the middle of Eden's Grove there, you'll see that is Malevolence. Just to the left of that, on the kind of up left section, is Garden of Genesis. From the left outpost here, this one, Valor Hold, you kind of just go up and to the left, and you'll see it in this kind of blue area where the water is. Garden of Genesis down here. Now inside that one, the enemies are Angry Earth, so they are weak to, which means you'll do more damage with slash and rubies. So this is my weapon for going and fighting those guys right now. It's a really, really good one. Obviously it's got slash damage, and I've got a fire gem on there, so it's going to do much, much more. They are resistant to lightning and thrust damage. So thrust damage is things like the rapier, and obviously lightning damage. So again, going back to this hatchet, that would do less, but because it's got slash, it do more. So it's kind of balanced out there. Obviously slash and fire is going to be your best options. So when you are going into these expeditions, one of the best things that you can do is actually tune your weapon setup and your gem setup to match that of the weaknesses of the enemies and combat the resistances, so that you are getting more damage when you are in those zones. And that's particularly helpful in all expeditions all the way through the game, but particularly those last two where the enemies can be a lot harder. And of course that does extend to the arenas as well. So the next thing that I'm going to quickly touch on here is of course your attributions and the distribution you do with those. Try and use a weapon even if it's something that maybe doesn't do as much damage. For example, right here with the strength perk, you've got the opportunity to switch between the great axe, the warhammer, the hatchet, the spear, and the sword. A lot of those have different ones. As you know, the great axe is slash, and the warhammer was strike damage. So you've got good opportunities for both of the end game dungeons with that stat. But try and switch out your attributes into something that is going to allow you to do a build which is really, really good against the enemies you are currently fighting, as that is going to help you out a lot. And obviously scaling that weapon from it then as well. So for example, for me, I'm half healer, half kind of strength, so I'm kind of like a paladin style build with a decent bit of con up there as well. Usually boost that with food to 150, so we're at 150, 160, and 164, and that gives us a good amount of healing. We can off-heal very, very well. It's kind of more of a war PvP build. We can also do more strength, so what I could do if I wanted to go full damage for this is take off most of my focus points and just put them all into strength to go up and do more damage. That is sometimes what I do when I'm in arenas, particularly because those bosses seem to be very, very hard, and usually you will have a dedicated healer, so you can switch the build around, but just make sure your attributes are being beneficial towards you. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about here is weapons, and in terms of the weapons, kind of what they've got on them. So this one we're going to look at, you can see there, it's got Corrupted Bane on it. Now, Corrupted Bane is super, super important because, again, if you're fighting the corrupted mobs, so either the corrupted breaches or the elite zones in the endgame areas, such as Murkgard, or the brandly newly updated one in Ebonscale Reach, which is of course the North Shrine kind of area to the left side of the map there. Those ones are both corrupted zones, so again, the mines, things like that, will do extra damage to corrupted mobs by 14%, which is really, really nice. Of course, then as well, nature gems, they are weak to nature damage, so that nature gem that's on there is really, really helpful. Again, things like the life stuff, because that's automatic nature damage, is also really, really good. And also arcane, so any kind of arcane gems as well are also good. But having a Bane on your weapon can be very, very useful. You guys will see that's another one there, plus 13% to corrupted damage. And then we also have one like this, which is the Eden Bow, which is plus 12% damage to Angry Earth. I think Corrupted, Angry Earth, and Ancients are going to be your best Banes for endgame, but particularly Corrupted because obviously the breaches and the invasions, and of course the elite zones, and then Angry Earth for the other elite zones and the endgame expeditions. If you can get a weapon with each of those Banes on that you can switch to for your build, that is going to be super, super beneficial. Now, to top this up as kind of another point here, you've got your coatings. So, of course, you've got your Angry Earth coating and your Corruption coating. These will just increase the damage that you do versus that type of mob. And, of course, really, really useful, particularly, again, corrupted coatings in expeditions. And kind of to coincide with this, you will also have Tinctures. You can see here that the Tinctures fully remove the corruption affliction and gain immunity to it for a short time. These are super, super useful. You can also get a Blight one, so that when you are in the Angry Earth areas, you can get rid of your Blight. And I would certainly recommend that every time you do go ahead and go into Genesis, as that is really, really useful. But there is not an Ancients Tincture because they don't give a status effect. So essentially you don't need one versus them, but of course you can get the Ancient Banes one there. Now, the other really important thing here that's going to increase your damage against these mobs is actually going to be your trophies. So if you go onto your bio, you can see the trophies that you have up right now. And as you guys will see on here, I have got the Angry Earth trophies up. These are just the minor ones right now. You can go ahead and get, of course, the upgraded versions, which I'm going to be working on very, very shortly, as I have been sleeping on these myself up until quite recently. The last couple of weeks started to get the materials together. So you can actually get these trophies in your house. You can swap trophies out as frequently as you would like, which means that you can swap these ones out for a corruption one if you're doing an invasion or a breach, or you can swap these out for ancient ones if you're going to be running Lazarus, and so on and so forth. And what you can go ahead and do there is then, you know, make them into their tier 3s and eventually the tier 4 ones there, so the majors and the basics from this, so that you're going to do extra damage. So obviously the first one just does a small bonus, then on the when you get to the tier 3 it's going to be a medium bonus, and then a large bonus when you do get to those major ones, like you can see on my weaponsmithing one there. So these are going to actually really, really help you to do a lot more damage to those endgame dungeons and expeditions mobs when you're actually inside them, and it's going to make the whole experience a lot smoother and a lot more consistent for you all when you are going around doing it. One thing to note about these trophies is the components can be very, very expensive. So what I like to do is just keep an eye out for whenever you might be able to get them. For example, in order to create your major corrupted combat trophy, you will need a corrupted totem. Right now, none of these are being sold on my server, so you know they are quite rare. Even if you're just trying to get up to your basic ones, you want to keep your eye out on the market, so that if you can maybe get your hands on one or two of them, or indeed you want to buy them all, you can kind of see a relative price and either, you know, flip these for money if you know that it's really, really down, you can sell it for more, or indeed, of course, buy it and craft your own trophies, or get somebody in your company craft a trophy for you, because these are going to be really, really important. So do keep an eye out for some of the better ones. Now, one thing, again, just to quickly point out with these trophies, when you are trying to craft your major ancient combat trophy, Ancient Mandible is also a resource used for focus mods on weapons and stuff like that. So you can actually go ahead and see it's not the green one. It is, of course, the legendary one. It's kind of like glowing blue. None of those are, again, for sale on my auction houses right now, and my servers have just been merged as well, so there's a lot of people on here. It's an active server, and we've got none of those legendary resources on, so don't mistake it and buy the other one thinking you can craft it, because unfortunately, that will not work. But again, as I say, do keep a lookout for these, as they are really, really going to help you. So if you guys have enjoyed this video, found it useful, hopefully it helps you to get some more completed and successful runs of the endgame expeditions, and of course, extend this knowledge to the arenas as you can. I will make a video guide on those in the coming days though, so stay tuned for that one. If you have enjoyed today's video, guys, please do be sure to leave a like on the video down below, as it really does help support me and my content here on YouTube, which is much appreciated. If you are new to the channel and you would like to help support me as a creator here, please do drop a subscribe down below, as I do upload brand new New World content every single day, and I would love to have you guys as part of my channel community here on YouTube. We are pushing for 12,500 subs by the end of the year, and we are getting very close. If you could help me out by pressing the subscribe button down below, I would much appreciate that. Other than that, guys, as always, I'll be back at you tomorrow again with another upload. Until then, thanks for watching, take care, and peace.